You're listening to Feel Good Astrology with Louisa Tanner Munson. To request a personal reading with Louisa, go to www.feelgoodastrology.com.
Hello, it's Louisa Tanner Munson, and this is part 2 of the Uranus Through the House series, I guess. So, in the previous one, we looked at the effects of Uranus if you were born with a first house natal Uranus. We're now going to have. We also looked at what happens when Uranus is transiting through your first house. So we're going to do the same again, but this time with Uranus in the second house. So if we think about the Uranus energy, it's like an invisible force field that shakes, defines, and changes and transforms. It's shocking, explosive. And it is also quite a genius. You know, it's brilliant in its strokes of luck, if that makes sense. It's like a thunderbolt, and it could strike gold. You never know. And it seems to come from the unconscious. If you think of lightning, if you think of wind, you can't really see where it generates from, but it just is. And that's a little bit like the Uranian energy. Now, the second house is about finances, but moreover than that, I think of it as a place to do with values, the values that we perceive in our life. So it can definitely be taken to represent your day-to-day finances and the work that you might do to bring about those finances. But I think at a more psychological level, it is about our acceptance to receive resources. I see it very much as a resourcing house. And the best kind of resources you have are your personal ones. And it kind of brings the loop back to the idea of it's how we value ourselves. Like we can value what we think our work is worth and feel happy about our paycheck and what people pay us. We're quite happy to talk about value in our output, but when people talk about the value of what people are worth, that's a completely different thing. So I guess if you're born with Uranus in the second house, you have quite a shocking and disruptive energy in the place of work, and quite a shocking and upsetting energy when it comes to money. So it might be that for you, the way you react to money is quite changeable, that you might have brilliant highs where you have lots and lots of money flowing in suddenly, and then really drastic lows where all of a sudden it's all gone. It shows quite a lot of instability around the finances and how you relate to your resources. It also shows quite a lot of luck, because Uranus is quite involved in lucky breaks and things like that, especially if there's a great Jupiter supporting it. So it can represent winning money and being gifted something. With Uranus in the second house, you're more likely to be the kind of compassionate person that gives their money away. So the value of money just isn't seen in the same way as it is if you had something like Saturn in the second house. That would probably make you quite acquiring of money and wanting to hold on to it and wanting to look after it and be very responsible with it. But with Uranus, you're quite blasé about money, as you are with all your resources. So for instance, like your car, you're more likely to loan your car out to someone in need. You know, someone that wants to borrow it, you just hand over the keys. You're less possessive about your possessions. And also less jealous of other people and their good fortune when it comes to money. This could make you a bit of a hippie type, you know, the kind of person that really doesn't need to hold on to things very much and is very happy to let things go. That can also have a knock-on effect when it comes to your relationships, because if your resources, you're very relaxed about your resources, you could also be very relaxed about the people in your life. And also when it comes to valuing yourself, you can have serious ups and downs with how you value yourself and your sense of self-esteem. So it can be shocked into action, and you can have some shocking changes in the way you think about yourself. I would imagine that people who are quite detached from their persona and from their value in life, that they have a sort of Uranian energy, like people that don't feel they have to prove how much they're worth, people that just expect to be taken at face value, people that just expect that being there is enough, is quite a Uranian energy in the second house, which is actually quite desirable, that you're not so attached to the value of what you are there or what you're here on the earth to do. So it's quite an interesting little thought about it, really. I mean, most people are brought up to value their ego, find value in who they are as a person. People are, and this is a follow-on from like the first house energy, where it's really about how you look and how you put yourself out there. And the second house really looks at the value that you get from the persona, the sort of payback from it. But with Uranus here, it can show that you really go against the trend of trying to be individual, really go against the trend of trying to put value on your brilliance, or put value on your specialness, or put value on your difference. So if you're not trying to put value on your difference or value on your specialness, you're actually kind of giving yourself the reputation of being quite cool and quite nonchalant and quite laissez-faire about things. So you've probably actually got quite a good reputation for being equal and for perpetuating equality. And it goes against the grain. It goes against the ideas of society that you have to be someone and define yourself. You're actually quite happy just to be yourself and not have to explain who you are. It's a very subtle difference. You're very happy to be different, but you don't have to talk about it all the time, because it's just who you are. And that's super cool. Now, when Uranus journeys from the first house into the second house, that creates a change in your life. If you think about where Uranus has come from when it's been transiting through your first house, it has shocked everyone. It's created waves and put you on a new path. And it has really created a new alter ego for you. So the chances are the way you look, the way you talk, the people around you have all changed. And it's been quite dramatic. If you looked at the story of your whole life, there would have been a huge shift when Uranus went over your ascendant. And then for the following years, there would be the development and the reconciliation of these changes. And it might be that you have several changes in this time, but it will be noted that all of a sudden your ideas of yourself have changed. Now, as Uranus moves into the second house, what you've got is shock in how you value yourself, shock in how you work, shock in how you resource yourself and look after your resources. So it can represent a time of financial change. It wouldn't be unheard of to experience some kind of financial disaster, like a problem with work, a redundancy or something like that, or your companies merge and it affects your actual financial flow. So as Uranus crosses over into the second house, you need to be aware and prepared that the way you valued your life and the resources within your life could suddenly change. For instance, people that have overextended themselves with a mortgage might find that as Uranus goes into the second house, all of a sudden their house is worth next to nothing, but they're still having to pay for something that is worth significantly more. So it can really affect the outward manifestation of your resources and how you need to cope for them. So it can also represent the changes that occur after that kind of event, where you have to downsize and go through the shift of changing the way you live. So it's definitely a theme that is worth bearing in mind and preparing for. If you're a clever and prudent person or quite a careful person, you might want to be prepared for that. Now, if you're the kind of person that is already a bit devil may care about Uranus, this could be a time when your money absolutely rockets and when some of the resources in your life get a real added boost and a benefit. Because Uranus is shaky energy. It doesn't necessarily mean it's shaking it down to the ground. It can shake it up. if you think about earthquakes and volcanoes and all the sort of earth energy that gets ruptured with the sort of surprise shock of a Uranus transit, what happens is the fabric of the earth changes shape, and some of it falls down and collapses, but some of it peaks. And I guess you have to look at the stock exchange ups and downs. That sort of really describes the Uranus energy. So it is a time when your finances could suddenly really grow. So getting back to what I was going to talk about, if you're a devil-may-care person and you've got an exciting new technology or something new, because Uranus really loves new things, loves technology, loves the future, loves genius, loves shocking. If you're working actively on something that carries the signature of those new things, or in fact something that's really humanitarian, something that really ties in with the Uranus energy, and if you've been working at it for a while, this could be the time when your Uranian project seems to take off because it's in your place of values. So these are all the themes that you can look out for. When it's talking about the second house theme of valuing yourself, this could be a time when you actually could awaken to your ego. So you could actually awaken to all the problems that you experience and realise that a lot of it is because of the ego and how the ego works and how the ego destroys things. Because our need to be special, our need to have our own way, our need to be seen is such a strong need, but Uranus really cuts away that need. So it wouldn't be unheard of for somebody to go through a reevaluation of their life and realise that the things that they really took as meaningful in their life no longer have any kind of lasting meaning, aren't the things that are going to carry them forward. And so they just decide to wipe that part of their life. So, joining a cult or changing your religion and moving away from people that you have known, all those kinds of personal values of security can be absolutely turned on their head. So if you are entering into this time of Uranus in the second house, I think it's a time to be completely ready for personal change and a change in the values that you hold dear. That's the key. It's representing a change in the values. Anyway, I hope that's useful. And if you want to hear more, then just click on the next podcast and listen to it in the third house, because one thing's for sure, Uranus does keep moving. And so even if you're not in the third house yet, it will be coming up. And this is the great thing about understanding astrology, is you can start to see how your life is going to take shape and start preparing. Anyway, enough of that for now. Take care.
You've been listening to Feel Good Astrology with Louisa Tanner Munson, and this recording has been made possible by all you lovely supporters at Patreon. To request a personal reading with Louisa, go to www.feelgoodastrology.com.